Hi, and welcome to episode 1 of Retrocar Style. Season 1 is going to be all about my 2002 Mazda Protege that I had just recently purchased. These series of videos are going to sort of catalog this car from start to finish on its way to making it a better daily driver. Now, one of the first issues I wanted to tackle in this car was the fact that it had sort of a grinding, squealing noise coming from the AC compressor area. And upon discovery, I found out that it was the AC compressor bearing. And after a bit of research, looking through the service manual, I found out that this bearing is indeed a serviceable unit. And so that's what this video is going to cover. Now, the video starts with the compressor out of the car, and I did this to keep the video sort of short. But at the same time, I included all the essential details so that if you decide to tackle this issue or your Protege needs this sort of service, you can do so at your own disposal. So let's take a look. There's a 10mm bolt here. Okay, this comes out. You can use a suitable, you can use a 3/8 air gun or a 1/4" air gun to get this out. And just for the purposes of the video, I already have it disassembled. So you just remove this guy. And this washer actually belongs, this shim actually belongs on the back side of this. So I just put it here just for this. Okay, this piece, without any effort, usually they just slide right off. Okay, and this is the back side of the friction plate that actually magnetizes and closes in. Behind that, you can see here is a bearing. But before you pull the bearing off, there's a snap ring that actually goes around a groove here. You're going to remove the snap ring. And like I said, I have this already disassembled for quick purpose, just to make this video a quick video. So you remove the snap ring and it comes off just like this. As far as the pulley assembly, depending on whether the vehicle or whether the bearing has been on the car and it's been really making noise, a lot of times these bearings will seize themselves around this piece here, and it requires a little bit of effort to get it off. But in this case, this bearing was it was still in fair shape. You can, if you spin it, if you could be standing here with me now, you can hear it making a little bit of noise. So it's just getting to the point to where it needs to be changed. So these bearings, this piece actually slips off of here. You just take it and it effortlessly slides right off, just like that. Okay. So what you want to do, you want to press this bearing out of this housing here and press in the new bearing. Okay, a word of caution: when you are pressing out these bearings, make sure you put support underneath this housing area. If you do not, the moment you apply pressure here, the whole thing is going to cave in and you'll wind up getting a new pulley. So I'm going to show you how to do that once we get over to the bench press. But before I go any further, I want to show you the type of bearing that goes in here. It's very easy to make a mistake and get the wrong bearing. There are two sizes of bearings. One is just 3mm larger. This one is the larger bearing, and it goes in this style of compressor. So I want to show you that. These are the two bearings that go in this car, that can go in this car, because it's two different compressors. This is the smaller bearing, as you can see, the part number MT2021 and MT2033. This is the correct size bearing. As you can see, they both look just alike. I've already opened one. I bought both bearings just so the viewer could see exactly what you're looking at. From the top, it looks exactly the same, but once you take it out of the package, you'll see that this bearing here is a lot wider than this one. You can probably already see it's just a slightly bit taller, but I'm going to take it out of the package. Do not make the mistake. Do not make the mistake and get the M2021 for this series compressor. Okay, for this series compressor, make sure you get the 2033. It's $14. This one's $21. Okay. As you can see, these are the two bearings. If you put them side by side, you can kind of see a difference between the two. The one on the left is the bearing that goes inside here, and the one on the right is the bearing that goes for the smaller compressor for the 1.6 models. Again, 1.6 Protege, 2-liter Protege. You can see the difference. I'll put it like that. You can see that the bearing on the bottom is about 3mm wider than the one on the top. That's very important. And before I press this out, I want to show everyone underneath why you should have proper support underneath. As you can see, let's see if I can get my... As you can see where I was telling you, hopefully you can see that, I was telling you where to have support. You want to have your pressing bars where the pulley is resting. Allow enough space to allow the bearing to pass through when you're pressing it out. But that's the way it should look when you're pressing it out, okay? Go. So here we've got our bearing pressed out, and we have our pulley all cleaned up, as you can see. Now it's time to press the bearing in. If you notice, I have these set up in a kind of a sandwich-like shape. This is going to sit on the inside, so when you press the bearing in, when you add pressure here to press the bearing, since you have a lot of holes here, it's not going to start bulging this outward. You want that to stay pretty much still. So you're going to have to put some spacers here, and we're going to center those. Try to center them as perfectly as possible, and you want to make sure there's enough pressure on the bottom there. And you're going to place the bearing on top like that. And you're going to find a suitable spacer here to press the bearing in. And you want to make sure it's big enough to fit all around the bearing. I also want to something I didn't do in my first video, make sure you're wearing protective glasses, so if anything flies out, it won't hit you in your face. And sometimes it pops like that and goes in. Your spacers, and then we're going to find another small one that goes just around the edge there, and then you're going to use your stick here to drive her home. That's it. Okay, as you can see, the bearing has been pressed inside, and that's what it should look like. When you're done with it, just spin it with your fingers to make sure that everything is okay. And then you want to spin it like this to make sure it's not wobbling. That way you know you press it in straight. Now it's time to press it onto the compressor assembly. Okay, so it doesn't take very much effort, especially if the bearing, the place where the bearing sits, is very clean. Just take a rag and kind of wipe it off a little bit, and you just place this right over. You just may need to give it a few taps. So we're going to take it here and just kind of tap it down. There you go. And as you can see, the clip ring is going to go right here. So that's what it looks like with the snap ring installed. As you can see, it spins freely. Snap ring in the groove. Okay, and then this is the friction plate, and you're just going to slip this on like so. And it's got some little grooves, kind of like a CV axle inside. There's no special way to put this on. You just make sure the grooves are lined up. there you go. And simple as pie. So once you've got that in, you're gonna take, oh, I forgot something. Silly me. Remember this shim goes in the bottom here. You just want to drop that in. Make sure it's nice and flat. You can see it went all the way to the bottom. Okay. And you're going to just slide this guy right back on. The shim is for proper spacing so that when the magnetic clutch engages, actually it rides a little. When it's unengaged, it's free. It ensures freedom of movement when it's not engaged. You just take the 10mm and put it in like that. I'm just tightening this. I don't know what the torque spec is in it, but what you can do, you can look it up for specification. But this is just a gun, electric impact, and I just usually just give it a few. And you can just see how it turns. It's nice and free, and that's how you replace a bearing on the Panasonic series compressors. That little job will save you about $314 to $350 for an AC compressor, and probably about 2 hours of labor, minus maybe 3 hours of labor, depending on the shop. Maybe 1 hour and a half. It's very simple to get this compressor on and off the car. This is the front side. Okay, you got 4 long bolts that go here and here. I'll show them to you. Yeah. These long bolts, you got 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this mounts to the front side of the car like this, and then your AC line goes in here. One goes here, one goes in front, and then once you put this in, you're going to vacuum down the system for about 10 minutes, and then depending on the type of equipment you got, you can just eject your oil through the system, or if you want, you can drain the oil and put it in here on the low side, preferably, maybe, or the high side, excuse me, and then you can charge the system. But that's how you do it. Simple little job. Doesn't take more than about 30 minutes to have that bearing changed, and I hope this video helped a lot of you DIY guys out there. Save some money with this little fix. Like I said, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes. Do not try it if you don't have the equipment to press on bearings, and of course, as always, wear your safety equipment. As you saw me, I did a little something silly. Didn't wear my safety equipment. Make sure you got something to cover your eyes in case anything flies out when you're pressing that bearing in. But cheap little fix, only $14, and it'll save you a lot of money. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.